Hello guys, I'm going to play game number 3 today, and I've decided after some thought to extend the game from 15 minutes with 0 increment to 20 minutes with 20-second increment. And it's because of the kind of panicky pressure, time pressure feeling that I've had definitely the last game. I feel like I didn't think at all about most of the moves in the second half of the game yesterday, and that was because I was low on time. I don't want to replicate that feeling with every video, so I'm going to try to extend it and see how it goes. So today I'm going to be doing 20 minutes and 20-second increment, and my wife is texting me, so there we go. I'm gonna do that here in just a second. Real quick, there's no sidebar today with a rating graph or anything like that. I'll do that some other time. I was getting a little frustrated with Skid earlier, getting it to do with what I wanted it to do, so I just decided not to do that today. So it'll be just a board window for this video. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and issue my Seek, which will be anybody within 500 rating points of me, and we'll play whoever gets the Seek first. So it could be a while on a 20-minute game with a 20-second increment. That's a pretty long game. Hopefully it won't be too long. I'm going to make sure I've got my volume up here loud enough to where I can hear it. You'll be able to hear it in the video, I hope. So, as I said yesterday, I'm not going to do much about talking about other things. If it becomes too long, I'll just pause the video so that you don't have to sit here and stare at the screen while I'm waiting. I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'll unpause it as soon as the game starts. Alright, it wasn't too long. I've got a game against an 1100 player today, so hopefully he won't abort. He'll play. Well, he accepted the Seek, so he shouldn't be the one to abort the game. Alright, I'm going to play French today, as usual. I had a viewer of my videos yesterday tell me that I had an obsession with the French defense, and he's right, I do. It's the one opening that I've played a lot, so I'm semi-comfortable in it. However, the exchange French makes me want to murder kittens, so yikes. Uh, there's again in the exchange French as black. I have a bunch of, and I never play it as white. So if I'm playing the exchange variation, I am black. So there are sort of a number of moves that I do almost every single time. One of them is C6, but it's usually not until later. So that's going to be a gain of tempo for me because I was going to play C6 anyway. Now I could play B5 here, which I do a lot, but I usually don't do it till a lot later. So I'm going to hold off on it because I don't think... I just need to be careful of my D5 square. So I'm going to go ahead and play Knight F6. And I am not going to blitz through these opening moves. These are pretty comfortable for me right here, so there's no reason to waste a whole lot of time. Alright, now this is a pretty natural move for him. What I'm going to do here is get my light square bishop out. That allows me to play knight b d7, which will reinforce the f6 knight, and also give me a little bit of flexibility where I can go to b6 with the knight and maybe get something going with the light square bishop over there if I want. That's not plan A by any stretch, but it is an option. I would like to get my light square bishop out. I am most likely putting it on f5. So let's look at his replies to bishop f5 here. So bishop f5 probably castles, and possibly something like knight h4. Am I worried about knight h4 at all? Probably not. I could very easily just pull the bishop back to e6, and he's sort of wasted a move. That bishop is not going to do much, or that knight is not going to do much on h4. So I'm thinking queen. Bishop f5, whatever, castles and castles is what I'm thinking is going to happen here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, for him, he's most likely in a castle, as I said. This is very, 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 very comfortable for me. I've been in this position hundreds of times. Doesn't mean I'm going to play it well, but it does mean that I am not out of my element. And I'm going to go ahead and castle here. Not much reason not to. H6 will likely come at some point soon. What I would love to do is to be able to play knight d7 sooner than later. Knight d7. So one possible variation I'm looking at here is knight d7. Say he does something crazy like knight e5. If he plays knight e5, I play knight takes e5. He plays d takes e5. It's a fork, and I have no more pieces guarding e5. So, excuse me. Most likely, I would need to play queen c7 before I could capture on e5. That would get me out of the pin as well. So I'm thinking knight d7, whatever from him, queen c7. Queen b6 might be a square for my queen as well, but it wouldn't help out on e5. So I'm going to go ahead and play knight b d7. So I have to be careful about my d5 square. It is not really defended. Well, actually, it is now that I've castled. So never mind. c6 is not pinned anymore. So it is defended by c6. I can always chase away with b5 still. The problem with b5 is I lose any potential attack on b2 with the queen being on b6. So there isn't much reason to do that yet. That bishop isn't doing anything. As far as I'm concerned, that bishop is out of play and dead. There isn't any queenside play going on. It's all over here on the king side, on the e file basically. The e file is kind of the focus. So he plays knight bd2. And like I said, queen 7 is most likely the move here. I always need to watch out for my bishop on f5 since it's unprotected. So queen c7 I think is my move here. Queen c7 stopping anything on the e5 square. Now I can fight for the e file. Rook fe8, rook takes, and I have the file. His queen is not mobile at this point. He would need to play something like c3. Is there anything I can do to discourage c3? b5 doesn't really help that. I wonder if the d3 square would be something I could use somehow in a tactic. Probably not. At this point, probably h6. His bishop will go to h4. Actually, there's no real reason for him to keep his bishop on g5 now, because there's no pin. So is there some tempo gaining move for me to get my knight to e4? So knight e4, knight takes, bishop takes is kind of cool. Knight e4, knight takes, bishop takes, followed by a knight f6 might be neat. Then he just takes it though. Then bishop takes f6 is kind of a pain. So what I'm thinking here is knight e4. Although maybe taking the e file first is a good idea. Rook fe8. Let's go rook fe8. I think I just take over the queen or the e file here doing that. Rook fe8. If he takes the rook, I take the rook. He can't occupy with the queen. If he doesn't take the rook, I take the rook. And either piece he captures with, I can take with the a rook. Take the e file back with the a rook, and I should be fine. It's guarded by... Yeah, so there's him trying to get his queen more mobile. Does bishop d3 do anything? Man, that's an interesting little hole. I don't think it does anything useful. What about knight b6 chasing the bishop around? He just comes back here, and we trade that piece off. So that's his good bishop, and it is out of play. My bad bishop is out here cutting it off a little bit. So what about b5, bishop b3, and then his queen can't get out still? Let's go ahead and play b5 here. I like that. And now I just swap that piece. Definitely swap that piece because that's his good bishop. Alright, now we've got a standoff on the e-file. That's the sacrifice that I made there. I don't own the e-file anymore. I have some more queenside space than I had. I have, I don't have the piece guarding e5 anymore, so I go knight, knight e4, knight e4, knight takes, and then I don't have anything to follow that up with. So that's a major downside of that move. But it's too late now. I don't quite have a hole on c4 yet because of this pawn, but knight b6 to c4 could come later. Alright, so what to do? What to do? Should I continue expanding on the queen side with a5? I think I probably should. Would a push to c5 do any good? With my better bishop, I kind of like his position locked down like it is. So I'm going to go ahead and play a5. And this is part of the problem with the exchange fringes. It's so stinking equal. It's just even. It's almost symmetrical. You can see it's very symmetrical here. The difference in the position is our bishops. I have a better bishop. This is fairly active out here. I mean, it's not really doing a job right now. I mean, it's threatening to chop off f6, but quite frankly, I wish he would. That would be fine. That would free up my position a little bit. So maybe h6 is a good idea. Carving out some space over here is pretty good. I've got his bishop. Sorry, that's a knight. I do that all the time. His knight over here doesn't have a whole lot of scope, kind of like mine doesn't. Although mine has a couple of squares that his doesn't have. My counterpart over there doesn't have. So a4 is possible for me to play, and to keep his knight away from b3. So obviously just a recapture here. Okay, I'm doing fine on time. I have a lot less time than he has, which is perfectly fine with me. Alright, here's one of those moves that makes no sense. If I just calmly react, that would be the best thing. Let's explore some. I'm going to take a couple of minutes here probably. I'm going to look at bishop f4. I'm going to look at bishop h2. I'm going to look at h6. What else am I going to look at? Bishop f4 doesn't threaten bishop takes d2 because I would be losing a better piece for a worse piece. But it does threaten bishop takes g5, which means I could go bishop f4 with tempo. And then would there be a follow-up that would further attack the knight on d2 in some way? So bishop f5, where else is he going to go? There's no bishop takes there's no knight takes h7 here. There's no knight e4. There's no knight takes f7. So what is the point? Okay, h6 just returns him to where he goes. That comes with tempo as well. So is there an advantage to having bishop on f4 over having the h6 pawn moved? I do need to do h6 at some point. I don't need to do bishop f4 at some point. It's a little more active than where it is now, but my bishop has plenty of scope. It's a good square for my bishop. I'm not trying to improve the position of my bishop right now. So let's just play h6. I'm going to go ahead and play h6. Clearly there's no threat on h7. Since he's taken the knight on h6, by the way, with f6 with his bishop, I now have a bishop for a knight, and the center is semi-closed right now. If I were to play c5 now, it might be a big advantage for me. So I'm going to start looking at things like c5. And if I did c5, I would not want to play c4 as a follow-up. So how about, let's just assume it's knight f6 here, because what else is he going to do? So knight f6, I can go ahead and start thinking about my move now. Knight f6, c5, d takes c5, bishop takes c5. Let's look at that position. And now I have a little pressure against f2, but just a little. Possibly reposition my queen to b6, and from there, is he going to be able to invade with the rooks? No. Is he going to have any decent points for his knight? Yes. Being able to put a knight on e5 would be good for him. So is there a way I can stop him from putting the knight on e5? Where could my knight go? Could my knight go ahead and go to e4? It can't, because that square is defended 3 times. After knight f3, I might have been saying knight f6 for him. After knight f3, the e4 square will be defended 3 times by him, and not 4 times. And I would only have 2 defenders of e4. So I can't do that. But if I play c5, I'm going to be removing a defender of e5. Oh, this is another moment, right? There's a free knight sitting on g5. So, thinking logically, h takes g5, knight takes g5. He's threatening h7. I just play g6, end of threat. That's what my little brain is telling me. So let's go over a couple of things. What about, this might even be better. H takes g5, knight takes g5, knight e4. And at that point, knight takes is his best move. D takes, rook takes, queen takes. And at that point, I probably have a knight for 2 pawns, which is good, but I'm a little loose over on the queen side, or king side. I'm not sure that's the best. So probably just, I mean, I'm 100% I'm taking g5. I should just go ahead and do that. Because I'm right that g6 stops it. I was just looking to see if there's anything better. So g6, and how many moves would it take his queen to maneuver over to h4? It would take more moves than I have available to defend it. So let's go ahead and play g6. And then I'll be fine. Now what this does is loosen my knight on f6 a little bit, so I have to be careful of that. Wonder if there isn't some knight h5 stuff where I can go knight h5, bishop f4. That doesn't really control enough squares. I was trying to think of some ways to keep the queen, say something like queen d3, queen f3. So now he's, I mean, I could just start trading off pieces now, because I can always come to e8 with tempo. So rook takes, queen takes, rook e8, and then get a little hairy with queen f3. He's just got, no, it's not. He just has too many, I don't know if he can get to h4. And h4 would be the only threat I could see him making here. Okay, so his position looks fine. He can't come to h4. He can't come to g4. So this is all perfectly fine as far as I can see. What I'm looking at now is bishop f4. Bishop f4, where does his knight go? He probably will play something like h4. What about playing knight h7 right now? Let's go knight h7. And I don't see much he can do. Knight h7. Let's look at what he can do. He can't. He could now come to g4. Knight h7, queen g4. Knight takes, queen takes, and he's just down a piece. What else is there? Knight h7, knight takes, king takes, and then something like h4. I'm not sure. Before he ever gets there, I could easily run my king over here. So I'm going to play knight h7, I think. Now, f7 is a tender spot there, so I have to watch that. But it's defended by the queen right now, so it's fine. All right. So this looks pretty solid for me. I'm up a piece. He doesn't have any play. I have the only open file. I've got a nice bishop. And this doesn't seem to do much. Rook e6, and I think I'm just evicting him. So I'm thinking rook e6, he's going to check here. Queen h4, most likely. And then I just play king g7 and I'm safe. So that's where I'm going right now. There's no tricks. King g7's fine. Not sure what that did. What about bishop e7 here? That'll even further evict him and allow me to get a defensive piece back here if I need it. It's a little bit more defensive for me on e7, I think, so I'm going to go and do that. Time situation here is perfectly fine for me. I know I'm down to 13 minutes, but I'm talking while I'm playing, and it's a pretty good excuse for that, I think. Alright, so now we need to consolidate our position, make sure everything is hunky-dory before we move on anywhere. Best way to do that is what? I think probably just avoiding any tricks. I'm trying to think if I can get my bishop a little bit more active. And I'm not seeing an easy way to do that. What about bishop f8 to h6? That seems to be a pretty active and defensive square. That's a nice diagonal that controls a lot of key squares. I can't get there by g5 right now because it's protected, but my king protects h6. So I'm going to go bishop f8 to h6. That seems to be the most solid thing I can find right now. Oh, clearly I just want to swap here.
Check.
Definitely want to swap pieces if I can. So I am gonna go ahead and make that bishop h6 move. And I'm trying to see a place where he can infiltrate, and there really isn't one. I mean, he can go queen e8, but it doesn't do anything. Got a fly buzzing around over here. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is play queen f4. So if I play queen f4, is there an infiltration here? I mean, he can come to like e7 at that point, queen e7. I don't really want that. Hmm. So queen d7 allows me to get out a little bit and even play queen e6. So I'm going to play queen d7 here. I am only slightly concerned about h5. Oh, what is that doing? I'm going to go queen e7 here. Alright, so queen e1, king h2, and there's nowhere to follow up from that, unfortunately. Okay, so we'll just do queen f5. I feel like I'm having... yeah, he's offered me a draw. I'm just going to quickly decline it. I don't feel like I'm having a lot of success with technique here, but the danger is over now. Okay, so I think I can play pretty quickly here. I'm going to go f6 and g5 is what I'm going to do, and round up the h-pawn. He plays... Okay, that's fine. Alright, not going to let him in over here. Since this is all locked down, I'm going to worry about the queen side over here. So queen, the queen side, if we play a4, then that whole thing gets locked down. Unless he, yeah, I can lock it down with a4. b4, take, take, I can lock it down pretty well. Either a4 or b4 lock it down for me. Let's look at b4, because b4 looks a little more attractive. b4, now he can push c4. But let's look at b4 takes, takes, and then it's pretty locked down. c4 takes, takes, and it's definitely locked down. c4 push, push, and it's locked down. It's a4, not c4. a4 push, push, and it's locked down. So I'm going to go a4. Bishop d2 is next here. Or can I infiltrate? Let's look at king h5. And yeah, let's look at king h5. Still bishop d2 anytime I want. And I'm probably going to do that next. Let's do it right now. Because now my king and pawn control all three of these squares. So his king is sort of hemmed in here. It can get out by f1 and e2, but it's a couple of moves to do so. And by that time, I'll have rounded up 2 pawns.
Check.
All right. At this point, I'm going to solidify this. I'll slide over here as quick as I can to guard these. Okay, he finally resigned. All right. I'm going to say thank you for the game. And good luck. And I'll sign off on this video. This was not going to be a difficult ending to win, obviously. But I think I did okay in the ending. It was, I don't know, the game was overall pretty okay. I seemed to do some things well. I thought I traded when I needed to trade. I thought I solidified my position when I needed to solidify it. I thought I played with okay plans in the middle game. The opening was just drab because it's a French exchange, and what are you going to do about that? But I would love to have comments about things I could do better throughout. And if you watch this all the way through, I appreciate it. And I'll see you next time, guys.